Imagine standing at the edge of a shadowy cave, torchlight flickering across ancient handprints pressed into clay. These aren't just decorations, they're messages across time. A human mind, not so different from yours, created them thousands of generations ago. Picture this paradox. We've mapped distant galaxies and split atoms, yet the mystery of our own becoming remains clouded. How did a vulnerable primate transform into beings who question their own existence? The fossil record offers fragments, but the complete story eludes us. You are about to discover the 7 critical evolutionary transitions that forged humanity, transitions science is still struggling to fully explain. The evidence contains contradictions that challenge our understanding of what it means to be human. Tonight, we explore the 7 evolutionary thresholds that made us who we are, following the evidence through time. We'll examine why certain evolutionary leaps appear almost impossible and why the story of human origins remains incomplete. What does it mean to be human? This question has haunted philosophers, scientists, and dreamers since we first developed the capacity to wonder about our own existence. 7 critical evolutionary transitions separate us from our earliest ancestors. Each represents a threshold that, once crossed, forever altered the trajectory of our species. The story begins not with modern humans, but with creatures who would seem alien to us, yet whose genetic legacy flows through our veins. They are our distant family, separated by millions of years. Consider the unlikely nature of our existence. For most of Earth's history, nothing like humans existed. Then, through a series of evolutionary experiments, nature produced beings capable of contemplating their own origins. This is a journey through time, from the earliest hominins who first stood upright on the African savanna to the emergence of our own species, Homo sapiens, with our unprecedented cognitive abilities. The fossil record reveals a complex tapestry of evolution, not a simple linear progression. Multiple human-like species once coexisted, competing and occasionally interbreeding. We are the sole survivors of this diverse family tree. What made us different? Why did we thrive while our evolutionary cousins vanished? The answers lie in subtle adaptations that, combined, created something entirely new in Earth's history. Our story begins approximately 7 million years ago, when a population of apes began evolving in a direction that would eventually lead to us. This was the first critical transition. The conventional narrative suggests a steady, gradual progression from primitive to advanced. But the evidence tells a more complicated tale, one of false starts, dead ends, and occasional evolutionary leaps. These 7 evolutionary stages weren't inevitable. Each represents a threshold that, once crossed, opened new possibilities that couldn't have been predicted beforehand. The first stage began with early hominins, creatures not quite ape, not quite human, who made the momentous transition to bipedalism, freeing their hands for tools and changing their relationship with their environment. Next came the Australopithecines, including the famous Lucy, who further refined upright walking while retaining tree-climbing adaptations. Their brains remained relatively small, but the evolutionary stage was being set. The emergence of Homo habilis marked our third threshold, the first creatures clearly in our genus, with larger brains and more sophisticated stone tools. They stood at the dawn of a new era. Homo erectus represents our 4th evolutionary transition, the first hominin to migrate out of Africa, mastering fire and developing more complex social structures during their nearly 2 million year reign. The 5th stage brought archaic humans, including the enigmatic Denisovans, with increasingly sophisticated tools and behaviors approaching modern human capabilities. Neanderthals, our 6th stage and closest extinct relatives, developed complex cultures, buried their dead, created art, and survived in harsh ice age environments before mysteriously disappearing as modern humans expanded. Finally, Homo sapiens emerged, anatomically modern humans with unprecedented symbolic thinking, language complexity, and cultural innovation capabilities that would transform the planet. What makes this story so compelling is not just the evolutionary changes themselves, but the mystery of why they happened. What pressures and opportunities shaped these transitions? Each of these evolutionary stages involved changes in bodies, brains, behaviors, and social structures. The full complexity of these changes continues to challenge scientific understanding. As we explore these 7 transitions, we'll encounter evidence that sometimes contradicts established theories, forcing scientists to reconsider how we became human. Some transitions appear gradual, occurring over hundreds of thousands of years. Others seem to happen with surprising speed, raising questions about the mechanisms driving human evolution. The story of human evolution isn't just about bones and artifacts. It's about beings increasingly capable of shaping their own destiny, creatures who began modifying their environment rather than simply adapting to it. Tonight, we'll examine how small adaptations, slight changes in posture, modest increases in brain size, subtle modifications to hands, combined to create a species unlike any other on Earth. This journey will take us from the earliest evidence of bipedal walking to the cognitive revolution that launched modern human cultures. It's a story that belongs to all of us. Most remarkably, our evolutionary story is still being written. We continue to evolve, albeit now primarily through cultural rather than biological mechanisms. The evidence for these 7 stages comes from multiple scientific disciplines: paleontology, genetics, archaeology, comparative anatomy, and more, creating a complex but coherent picture of our origins. Let us begin our journey through time, examining the 7 evolutionary transitions that created humanity, beginning with creatures who would seem both familiar and strange to our modern eyes. Chapter 2: The Becoming of Us. Why does human evolution matter? Because understanding our origins illuminates not just what we are, but what we might become. Each evolutionary threshold we crossed reshaped what it meant to be human. If we truly comprehend the 7 stages that created us, we gain insight into our deepest instincts, behaviors, and capabilities. We see both our limitations and our extraordinary potential more clearly. The stakes of this evolutionary narrative extend beyond scientific curiosity. They touch fundamental questions about human nature. Are we inherently cooperative or competitive? What cognitive adaptations shaped our minds? Consider what would change if we fully understood our evolutionary story. We might redesign our environments, education systems, and social structures to better align with our evolved psychology. Many of our modern challenges, from climate change to social inequality, can be partly traced to mismatches between our evolved nature and the world we've created. Evolution designed us for different circumstances. The fossil evidence tells us something profound. For most of human evolutionary history, multiple hominin species coexisted. The phenomenon of being the only human species is remarkably recent. This realization transforms how we think about our place in nature. We are not the inevitable outcome of evolution, but rather the last survivors of a once diverse family tree. Each evolutionary transition we'll explore represents a gamble, a set of adaptations that could have failed, but instead opened new possibilities. Our existence resulted from many such successful experiments. The first stage, bipedalism, freed our hands for tool use and carrying, but at significant costs: painful childbirth, back problems, and increased vulnerability on the open savanna. Evolution always involves trade-offs. What would change if we understood that walking upright wasn't just a locomotion shift, but a fundamental reorganization of our relationship with our environment? It altered how we perceive, interact, and think. The second stage, Australopithecines, reveals beings caught between 2 worlds, adapted for both tree climbing and ground walking. They remind us that evolution often produces compromised solutions, not perfect designs. These early ancestors teach us something profound about adaptation. Successful traits don't need to be perfect. They just need to work well enough to provide advantage in specific environmental contexts. The Homo habilis stage marks a critical cognitive threshold. Brain size increased significantly, and tool use became systematic. The stakes of this transition were enormous. It set the stage for all subsequent human development. If we fully grasp the implications of the Homo habilis transition, we might better understand the coevolutionary relationship between our hands, tools, and brains that continues to shape human cognition today. Homo erectus represents perhaps the most successful human species ever, existing for nearly 2 million years across multiple continents. Their adaptability raises profound questions about what constitutes evolutionary success. What would change if we recognized that cultural evolution, the transmission of knowledge through learning, became increasingly important during the Homo erectus stage? biology and culture began their intricate dance. The archaic human stage saw brain size approaching modern dimensions, with evidence of increasingly complex behaviors. The stakes were the development of minds capable of unprecedented environmental manipulation. If we understood this transition fully, we might better grasp how slight changes in neural organization, not just brain size, created new cognitive capacities that fundamentally changed what it meant to be human. Neanderthals challenge our assumptions about human uniqueness. Evidence suggests they had language, created art, practiced complex hunting strategies, and possibly engaged in symbolic thinking. What would change if we fully acknowledged the sophisticated nature of Neanderthal cognition? We might recognize that multiple paths to complex intelligence are possible, not just the one our species followed. The emergence of Homo sapiens represents not just physical changes, but a cognitive and cultural revolution. The stakes were the development of beings capable of reshaping the entire planet. If we truly understood this final transition, we might better navigate our current moment, when our evolved psychology meets technologies and social systems that operate at unprecedented scales. The 7 stages of human evolution matter because they reveal that we are works in progress, beings shaped by environmental pressures no longer present, using brains designed for different challenges. Understanding our evolutionary history provides context for our strengths and weaknesses. We evolved remarkable cooperation abilities alongside tribal tendencies that can fuel conflict between groups. The stakes of our evolutionary narrative extend to our future as well. As we gain the ability to directly influence our biological evolution through genetic technologies, understanding our past becomes essential. What would change if we recognized that many human behaviors, from our dietary preferences to our social anxieties, make sense in light of the evolutionary pressures that shaped our ancestors? Our evolutionary journey raises profound questions about human identity. Each transition added layers to what it means to be human, creating beings of remarkable complexity and contradictory tendencies. If we fully embrace the implications of our evolutionary story, we might develop greater humility about our place in nature, seeing ourselves as one remarkable experiment among many rather than the pinnacle of creation. The evidence for these 7 transitions challenges us to reconsider fundamental assumptions. We are neither merely animals nor entirely separate from nature. We exist in a unique intermediate space. What would change if we understood that consciousness itself, our ability to reflect on our own existence, emerged gradually through these evolutionary stages rather than appearing suddenly? The stakes of human evolution extend to questions of purpose and meaning. We are beings evolved for survival and reproduction who somehow developed the capacity to contemplate eternity and create art. Understanding these 7 transitions provides a framework for integrating scientific knowledge with humanistic questions about what makes us unique and how we should use our unprecedented capabilities. Chapter 3: From Trees to Savannas. The first threshold. 7 million years ago, the world was changing. Africa's vast forests were gradually retreating, giving way to expanding grasslands. In this shifting environment, evolution was about to experiment with a new form of primate. The story begins with a divergence. Sometime between 5 and 7 million years ago, a population of apes began evolving separately from those that would become chimpanzees, our closest living relatives. These early hominins faced a critical environmental challenge. As forests fragmented, the resources they depended on became more widely scattered. Moving efficiently between patches of food became increasingly important. The fossil record for this period remains fragmentary, but tantalizing clues have emerged. In 2001, scientists discovered Sahelanthropus cadensis, dated to approximately 7 million years ago, with features suggesting possible upright walking. Another candidate for early bipedalism, Australopithecus, lived around 6 million years ago in what is now Kenya. Its femur shows adaptations that may have allowed for walking on 2 legs. Australopithecus, particularly the remarkably complete specimen nicknamed Artie from 4.4 million years ago, reveals a creature adapted for both tree climbing and upright walking, a transitional form capturing evolution in action. What makes these discoveries so significant is that they challenge earlier assumptions about human evolution. Bipedalism appears to have evolved while our ancestors still used trees extensively, not after moving to open savannas. The first major evolutionary threshold, bipedalism, was a profound anatomical restructuring. The spine curved, the pelvis repositioned, leg bones lengthened, and feet transformed from grasping appendages to weight-bearing platforms. This transition represented an evolutionary gamble. Standing upright exposed early hominins to predators and initially made them slower than their quadrupedal counterparts. What advantages offset these serious costs? One compelling theory suggests that bipedalism evolved partly as an energy-efficient way to travel between scattered food resources. Walking upright requires less energy than knuckle walking over long distances. Another hypothesis points to the advantage of having hands free for carrying food, tools, or infants. This capability would prove invaluable as early hominins began exploiting more varied environmental niches. Climate change likely played a crucial role in this first transition. As Africa became drier and forests fragmented, adaptations that allowed efficient movement through mixed environments offered significant advantages. The shift to bipedalism had profound consequences beyond locomotion. It reorganized the entire hominin body plan and set the stage for later adaptations, including tool use and increased brain size. By standing upright, early hominins could see over tall grass, potentially spotting both predators and food sources at greater distances. This improved environmental awareness offered survival advantages in mosaic landscapes. Bipedalism also facilitated thermoregulation in hot environments. By presenting less surface area to direct sunlight and elevating the body to catch cooling breezes, upright posture helped manage heat stress. The fossil evidence suggests that this first transition occurred gradually over hundreds of thousands of years. Different hominin species showed varying degrees of bipedal adaptation, indicating multiple evolutionary experiments. This period of early hominin evolution was characterized by remarkable diversity. Multiple species coexisted, each representing different evolutionary solutions to the challenges of their changing environment. One crucial misconception about this first threshold is that it represented a march of progress toward humanity. In reality, these adaptations evolved in response to immediate environmental pressures, not toward some future goal. What makes this transition so remarkable is that it happened at all. The shift from quadrupedal to bipedal locomotion required coordinated changes throughout the skeleton and musculature, a complex evolutionary transformation. These early hominins still had relatively small brains, similar in size to those of modern chimpanzees. The dramatic cognitive expansion that characterizes later human evolution hadn't yet begun. Their faces projected forward with pronounced jaws and large teeth adapted for processing tough plant foods. They likely consumed a primarily vegetarian diet supplemented occasionally with insects or small prey. The environments these early bipeds inhabited were dynamic and diverse. African landscapes featured a mosaic of woodlands, grasslands, and riparian forests, offering varied resources but requiring adaptability. Predators posed significant threats. Large cats, hyenas, and other carnivores would have targeted these relatively slow, ground-dwelling primates. Social cooperation may have provided crucial protection. As the first million years of bipedal evolution unfolded, the climate continued changing. Africa experienced increasing aridity punctuated by wetter periods, creating selection pressures that favored adaptable species. Around 4 million years ago, the hominin family tree began diversifying significantly. The Australopithecines emerged, including the famous Lucy specimen, showing more pronounced bipedal adaptations. These Australopithecines represent our second evolutionary threshold. Their fossils reveal beings committed to terrestrial bipedalism while retaining some tree-climbing adaptations, particularly in their upper bodies. Lucy, discovered in Ethiopia's Afar region in 1974, belonged to the species Australopithecus afarensis. At 3.2 million years old, her skeleton provides crucial insights into how our ancestors moved and lived. Standing about 3.5 feet tall, Lucy had legs proportioned for efficient walking, but arms still relatively long compared to modern humans. Her curved fingers suggest she still spent time in trees. Lucy's species existed for over 1 million years, far longer than our own species has so far, demonstrating the evolutionary success of their adaptation strategy. They thrived in diverse African environments. Footprints discovered at Litoli, Tanzania, provide dramatic evidence of bipedalism from 3.6 million years ago. 3 Australopithecines walked across fresh volcanic ash, leaving impressions nearly indistinguishable from modern human footprints. These footprints reveal something remarkable. Early hominins walked with a striding gait similar to our own, with the big toe aligned with the other toes rather than projecting sideways, as in chimpanzees. What makes the Litoli prints so compelling is their age. By 3.6 million years ago, efficient bipedal walking was already well established, suggesting the initial transition began substantially earlier. Australopithecines diversified into multiple species across Africa. Some developed massive jaws and teeth specialized for processing tough vegetation, while others showed more generalized adaptations. This diversity demonstrates a central truth about evolution. It isn't a linear progression, but rather a branching process with multiple simultaneous experiments, some successful and others ultimately ending in extinction. The story of our first evolutionary threshold reveals something profound. Major transitions don't require foresight. Each small adaptation must provide immediate advantages while setting the stage for future possibilities. Chapter 4. Hands that shape, minds that question. As Australopithecines diversified across Africa between 4 and 2 million years ago, something remarkable was happening. Subtle changes in hand structure were creating new possibilities that would reshape our evolutionary trajectory. Around 3.3 million years ago, at a site called Lomekwi in Kenya, someone began deliberately striking stones to create sharp-edged tools. This represents the earliest known evidence of systematic stone tool production. These Lomekwi tools predate the emergence of the Homo genus by 500,000 years, suggesting that Australopithecines, beings with ape-sized brains, had already begun the technological journey that would define humanity. What makes this discovery so significant is that it challenges the traditional narrative linking toolmaking exclusively to our genus. The cognitive foundations for technological innovation evolved earlier than previously thought. The tools themselves were rudimentary, simple stone cobbles with flakes removed to create sharp cutting edges. Yet they represented a profound cognitive leap, the ability to visualize how transforming one object could create another. This third evolutionary threshold, the emergence of Homo habilis and systematic toolmaking, marks a critical juncture in human development. Brains began expanding, and technology became increasingly central to survival. Homo habilis, meaning handyman, first appeared around 2.8 million years ago. Their fossils show subtle but significant changes: slightly larger brains, less projecting faces, and hands better suited for precision gripping. These early members of our genus had brains averaging 600 to 700 cubic centimeters, larger than Australopithecines, but still only half the size of modern humans. Yet they created more sophisticated tools. The Oldowin tool industry, named after Tanzania's Oldoway Gorge where many examples were found, included deliberately shaped stone choppers, scrapers, and flakes. These tools could process plant foods and butcher animal carcasses. Evidence from microscopic where patterns and residues on these tools reveals how they were used: cutting meat, scraping hides, processing plant materials. They opened access to nutritional resources unavailable to earlier hominins. This dietary expansion had profound implications. Animal tissues provide concentrated nutrients, including fats essential for brain development. As tools facilitated meat consumption, they potentially fueled brain expansion. The hands that made these tools show subtle anatomical changes. Homo habilis had shorter fingers and broader fingertips than Australopithecines, allowing more precise manipulation of objects. What's remarkable about this transition is the feedback loop it created. Better hands enabled more sophisticated tools, which provided nutritional resources supporting larger brains, which conceived even better tools. This period marks the beginning of the coevolution of human biology and technology, a process that would accelerate with each subsequent evolutionary stage and continues to define our species today. Around 1.8 million years ago, a new hominin emerged that would dramatically expand the human footprint: Homo erectus. With bodies nearly modern in proportion and significantly larger brains, they embodied our fourth evolutionary threshold. Homo erectus represents a transformative shift in human evolution. Their fossils show bodies built for long-distance walking and running, with narrower pelvises, longer legs, and more efficient cooling systems. Their brains averaged 900 cubic centimeters, about 50% larger than Homo habilis and 75% of modern human size. This expanded cognitive capacity coincided with more sophisticated technology and behaviors. Homo erectus created the Acheulean tool tradition, symmetrical, teardrop-shaped hand axes carefully shaped on both sides. These multipurpose tools required greater planning and spatial visualization than earlier technologies. The same hand axe design persisted with minimal changes for over 1 million years across Africa, Europe, and Asia. This remarkable consistency suggests cultural transmission of specific manufacturing techniques across generations. What makes Homo erectus so significant in our evolutionary story is their unprecedented geographic expansion. They were the first hominins to leave Africa, reaching as far as China and Indonesia. This migration required extraordinary adaptability. Homo erectus encountered environments ranging from tropical forests to temperate grasslands, developing survival strategies for each new challenge. Perhaps their most transformative innovation was the controlled use of fire. While the earliest definitive evidence dates to around 400,000 years ago, some sites suggest possible fire use as early as 1.5 million years ago. Fire revolutionized hominin life in multiple ways. It provided protection from predators, warmth in cooler climates, light to extend activities into evening hours, and most importantly, a way to cook food. Cooking represents a technological externalization of digestion. Heat breaks down tough plant fibers and animal proteins, releasing more nutrients and reducing the energy required for digestion. Richard Wrangham's cooking hypothesis suggests that this innovation fueled further brain expansion by providing more efficient nutrition. Smaller guts and larger brains could co-evolve thanks to predigestion through cooking. Homo erectus sites show another significant development, evidence of cooperative hunting. Scavenging remained important, but these hominins began actively pursuing large game, requiring group coordination and communication. This intensified cooperation likely drove more complex social structures and communication systems. Language may have begun evolving during this period, though the evidence remains indirect and controversial. Homo erectus survived for nearly 2 million years, 10 times longer than our species has existed so far. This remarkable longevity attests to the success of their adaptive strategy. Their geographic dispersal created isolated populations that began evolving differently in response to local conditions. This divergence would eventually lead to our fifth threshold, archaic humans. Around 700,000 years ago, hominin brains began approaching modern size. Species like Homo heidelbergensis emerged with cranial capacities of 1,100 to 1,400 cubic centimeters, overlapping with modern human range. These archaic humans demonstrated increasingly sophisticated behaviors. They built shelters, created more specialized tools, and began regularly hunting large game animals throughout Europe, Asia, and Africa. Evidence from a site called Skaaningen in Germany reveals wooden spears preserved in ancient lake sediments from 400,000 years ago. These carefully balanced throwing weapons indicate advanced planning and craftsmanship. Perhaps most significantly, some archaic human sites contained evidence of symbolic behavior. Red ochre pigment was collected and processed, possibly for body decoration or other ritual purposes. As we approach our sixth threshold, the emergence of Neanderthals and their contemporaries, the pace of innovation accelerates. Composite tools combining different materials appear, along with standardized production techniques. Neanderthals emerged around 400,000 years ago, specifically adapted to the cold climates of Ice Age Europe. Their stocky bodies conserved heat, while their large brains supported complex behaviors. Recent discoveries have revolutionized our understanding of Neanderthal capabilities. They created art, buried their dead with apparent ritual, manufactured complex adhesives for toolmaking, and possibly used medicinal plants. Genetic evidence reveals something remarkable about our relationship with these human relatives. Most people alive today carry Neanderthal DNA, indicating that when modern humans expanded out of Africa, the two species interbred. This interbreeding challenges traditional notions of separate species and suggests a more complex picture of human evolution. We didn't simply replace earlier humans, we absorbed them, incorporating their genetic adaptations. As Neanderthals were thriving in Europe, another mysterious human relative, the Denisovans, occupied parts of Asia. Known primarily from DNA extracted from a few fossils, their full story remains largely untold. Meanwhile, in Africa, anatomically modern humans, our own species, Homo sapiens, were emerging. By 300,000 years ago, fossils from Morocco show faces essentially like our own, though brain cases were still somewhat different. By 200,000 years ago, humans essentially identical to us anatomically were living in Africa. Yet behaviorally modern traits, systematic symbolic expression, complex social networks, accelerating technological innovation, wouldn't flourish for another 100,000 plus years. This delay between anatomical and behavioral modernity represents one of the most fascinating questions in human evolution. What sparked the cognitive and cultural revolution that would ultimately define our species? Some researchers point to genetic changes affecting brain organization. Others suggest accumulated cultural knowledge reached a tipping point, while some emphasize environmental pressures driving innovation. Evidence from the site of Blombos Cave in South Africa provides tantalizing clues. By 75,000 years ago, its inhabitants were engraving abstract patterns on ochre, creating shell beads, and producing carefully prepared pigments. These symbolic behaviors suggest the presence of complex language and abstract thought. They represent not just technological innovation, but new ways of constructing and communicating meaning. Around 60,000 years ago, a small population of modern humans expanded out of Africa. Their descendants would ultimately populate every habitable continent, encountering and sometimes interbreeding with archaic humans they met. As modern humans spread around the world, an explosion of innovation followed. Regional cultural traditions developed, technologies diversified, and artistic expression flourished in forms ranging from cave paintings to carved figurines. What makes this seventh threshold, the emergence of behaviorally modern Homo sapiens, so profound is the shift toward cumulative culture. Innovations began building upon previous innovations at an accelerating pace. This capacity for cumulative culture, the ability to preserve and build upon knowledge across generations, represents perhaps the defining characteristic of our species. It allowed humans to adapt to new environments through learning rather than genetic change. The question that haunts paleoanthropologists is why us? What subtle neural reorganization or cultural innovation allowed our species to develop unprecedented symbolic and technological capabilities while our relatives eventually disappeared? Here we encounter the central mystery of human evolution, the cognitive leap that transformed anatomically modern humans into behaviorally modern humans with language, art, science, and the capacity to transform the planet. Was it a genetic mutation affecting language? A new form of social organization? The development of external symbolic storage systems? Or some combination of factors creating a perfect evolutionary storm? As we've traced the 7 thresholds of human evolution, from early bipedalism through the emergence of modern cognition, we've seen how each transition built upon previous adaptations in unexpected ways. But the final transition remains the most enigmatic. Something happened within our species that unleashed unprecedented creative and destructive potential, setting us on a path that would eventually lead to civilization. The evidence tantalizingly suggests that this cognitive revolution wasn't a sudden event, but rather an acceleration of capabilities that had been developing for hundreds of thousands of years. As we delve deeper into the archaeological record and genetic evidence, new discoveries continue challenging established narratives. The story of human evolution grows more complex, more fascinating, and more mysterious. What caused our closest relatives to disappear while we thrived? What cognitive adaptations allow us to cooperate on unprecedented scales while simultaneously waging devastating warfare? And what does our evolutionary legacy mean for our future? Chapter 5: The Puzzle of Human Origins. The conventional narrative of human evolution, a steady march from primitive to advanced, falls apart under closer examination. The fossil record reveals a much messier reality, filled with contradictions that challenge our understanding. Consider the puzzling case of Homo naledi, discovered in South Africa's Rising Star Cave system in 2013. These hominins had small, orange-sized brains like early Australopithecines, yet their hands show precision gripping capabilities similar to ours. More baffling still, their shoulders resemble those of tree-climbing apes while their feet are nearly indistinguishable from modern humans. This mosaic of features defies the neat categories we've constructed. But the greatest contradiction comes from their age. Initially thought to be millions of years old, dating revealed Homo naledi lived just 335,000 to 236,000 years ago, contemporaneous with much more advanced species, including early Homo sapiens. This chronological anomaly raises profound questions. Why would a small-brained hominin with primitive features persist alongside larger-brained relatives? The traditional linear progression of increasing brain size suddenly seems questionable. Even more perplexing, the Rising Star cave chamber containing Homo naledi remains is extraordinarily difficult to access. Researchers needed specially selected small-bodied individuals to squeeze through narrow passages to reach the fossils. This inaccessibility suggests an almost unthinkable possibility. Were these bodies deliberately placed there? If so, that would indicate mortuary practices typically associated only with much later, larger-brained humans. The implications are staggering. Either complex symbolic behaviors evolved independently multiple times, or brain size isn't as directly tied to cognitive complexity as we've assumed. Both possibilities challenge evolutionary orthodoxy. Homo naledi isn't the only contradiction. Consider the hobbit Homo floresiensis, discovered on Indonesia's Flores Island. These diminutive hominins stood just over 3 feet tall, with brains smaller than chimpanzees. Yet they created sophisticated stone tools and apparently hunted pygmy elephants. More astonishingly, they persisted until approximately 50,000 years ago, long after much more advanced humans had spread throughout Asia. How could a species with such a small brain create complex technology? The conventional correlation between brain size and cognitive ability seems inadequate to explain these findings. Another anomaly comes from North Africa. Stone tools discovered in Algeria date to 2.4 million years ago, 200,000 years older than the earliest known Homo fossils. Who made these artifacts? Either members of our genus existed much earlier than currently documented, or Australopithecines were creating sophisticated tools much earlier than previously thought. Either possibility requires significant revision of current models. The timing of technological innovations presents additional contradictions. Advanced projectile weapons like spear throwers and bows should logically precede human expansion into challenging environments like the Arctic. Yet archaeological evidence suggests humans successfully inhabited northern Siberia 45,000 years ago, at least 15,000 years before these technologies appear in the archaeological record. How did they survive without such essential tools? Consider also the puzzle of brain expansion. The human brain tripled in size over approximately 2 million years, an extraordinarily rapid increase unmatched in any other evolutionary lineage. This rate of increase is so exceptional that some researchers question whether natural selection alone could account for it. What combination of environmental pressures and adaptive advantages drove this unprecedented neural development? The timing of art and symbolic behavior presents another contradiction. Anatomically modern humans existed for over 100,000 years before the flowering of cave paintings, figurines, musical instruments, and other symbolic artifacts. What sparked this creative explosion? The archaeological record shows a puzzling gap between anatomical and behavioral modernity that challenges simplistic genetic explanations for human cognitive uniqueness. Neanderthal capabilities present, yet another anomaly. Traditional portrayals depicted them as cognitively inferior to modern humans, but recent discoveries have demolished this characterization. Evidence now confirms they created art, used symbolism, manufactured complex adhesives requiring sophisticated multi-step processes, and possibly had language. The cognitive gap between us and them continues to narrow with each discovery. This raises uncomfortable questions. If Neanderthals possessed comparable cognitive abilities, why did they disappear while we flourished? The conventional narrative of superior modern human intelligence no longer provides a satisfactory explanation. Migration patterns create additional contradictions. The conventional out of Africa model has humans leaving Africa around 60,000 years ago. Yet archaeological findings increasingly push that date back. Human fossils from Israel's Mislia cave date to 194,000 years ago. Stone tools in India may date to 385,000 years ago. And Australian sites suggest human arrival possibly 65,000 years ago, earlier than humans supposedly reached Southeast Asia. These chronological contradictions suggest either multiple migration waves or that our understanding of early human movement remains fundamentally incomplete. The neat, linear narrative dissolves with each new discovery. Even more puzzling, fossil evidence from China and Southeast Asia shows features that don't fit neatly into known species categories. Some have proposed these represent different human lineages, complicating the simple out of Africa scenario. Genetic evidence adds another layer of complexity. Modern humans carry DNA from multiple archaic human species, not just Neanderthals, but also Denisovans and possibly other, as yet unidentified archaic populations. This genomic legacy challenges the concept of human species as discrete, non-overlapping categories. We are genetic mosaics, carrying the legacy of multiple evolutionary experiments in our DNA. The archaeological record reveals technologies appearing almost simultaneously across widely separated regions. How did this parallel development occur in an era before rapid information sharing was possible? Tool manufacturing techniques requiring hundreds of precise steps appear fully formed in the archaeological record. Where is the evidence for the gradual development of these complex production sequences? The most perplexing contradiction may be humanity's extraordinary ecological impact. No other species has transformed the planet so completely. What evolutionary adaptations allowed one primate species to reshape entire ecosystems? Our anomalous cultural development, accelerating from stone tools to space exploration in the evolutionary blink of an eye, defies easy explanation. Cultural evolution operates at speeds that make biological evolution appear glacial by comparison. These contradictions force us to question fundamental assumptions about human origins. The 7 evolutionary transitions we've identified weren't simple, linear progressions, but complex transformations with unexplained leaps and puzzling delays. What if our understanding of the mechanisms driving human evolution remains fundamentally incomplete? What if factors beyond traditional natural selection played crucial roles in shaping our species? As we examine these contradictions more closely, the mystery deepens. Human evolution appears increasingly as a puzzle with missing pieces, or perhaps a puzzle where the pieces we have don't fit the picture we've been trying to create. Chapter 6. When myths meet science throughout human history, cultures worldwide have preserved origin stories, myths explaining how humans came to be. These narratives were long dismissed as mere superstition, irrelevant to scientific understanding of human evolution. Yet a curious pattern emerges when examining these diverse mythological traditions. Certain motifs appear repeatedly across cultures that had no contact with each other. What if these shared elements preserve fragments of ancient knowledge? Consider the widespread myth of previous human worlds or creations. From Hopi traditions of previous worlds to Hindu cosmic cycles, many cultures preserved accounts of earlier human types who were destroyed or transformed. Remarkably, these myths parallel the scientific evidence of multiple hominin species existing and disappearing. Could these stories preserve cultural memories of encounters with other human species like Neanderthals or Homo erectus? Aboriginal Australian traditions speak of the dream time, when ancestor beings shaped the landscape and established human society. These traditions include detailed knowledge of extinct animals and geological events from tens of thousands of years ago. Geomythology, the study of geological events preserved in myths, reveals that oral traditions can accurately maintain information over startlingly long periods. Some Aboriginal stories appear to record sea level changes from more than 7,000 years ago. If geological information can survive millennia through oral tradition, might these same traditions preserve encounters with other human species? Aboriginal myths speak of strange people unlike themselves who once inhabited the land. Native American traditions similarly describe previous inhabitants with different characteristics. The Paiute speak of red-haired Cetacea who were hostile to their ancestors. These accounts have traditionally been dismissed as purely fictional. However, archaeological discoveries occasionally align with such myths. When 9,400-year-old Kennewick Man was discovered in Washington state in 1996, physical anthropologists noted his skull shape differed from modern Native Americans. Similar cases have emerged worldwide. Ancient remains showing unexpected features that don't match modern populations in those regions. These findings suggest more complex population histories than previously recognized. Chinese historical records describe dragon bones, fossils collected for traditional medicine for over 2,000 years. We now know these included hominin fossils, meaning ancient Chinese scholars encountered evidence of earlier human forms. Greek mythology speaks of cyclops, giant, one-eyed beings. When ancient Greeks discovered elephant skulls, the large central nasal opening appeared to them as a single eye socket, potentially inspiring these myths. This pattern, ancient people encountering and attempting to explain fossil evidence, likely occurred throughout human history. Myths of giants, dragons, and strange semi-human creatures may represent pre-scientific interpretations of paleontological finds. Beyond myths, archaeological evidence occasionally turns up anomalies that challenge established timelines. The Cheruti Mastodon site in California contains mastodon bones apparently broken by stone tools 130,000 years ago, 100,000 years before humans supposedly reached North America. Mainstream archaeology largely rejects this interpretation, but the research team included respected paleontologists who meticulously documented their findings. If validated, it would dramatically revise our understanding of human migration patterns. Similarly controversial, the Chicwa White Cave site in Mexico yielded stone tools dated to 30,000 years ago, 10,000 years earlier than the widely accepted timeline for human arrival in North America. Such findings remain hotly contested. At Huitlaco, Mexico, sophisticated stone tools were discovered in geological layers dated to 250,000 years ago, long before Homo sapiens existed. The dating remains controversial, but the excavation was conducted by experienced archaeologists. These anomalous sites share a common pattern: initial excitement, followed by intense skepticism from the scientific community, often leading to the evidence being sidelined rather than definitively refuted or confirmed. Perhaps the most persistent archaeological anomaly concerns early human seafaring. The conventional narrative suggests humans lacked advanced maritime capabilities until relatively recently. Yet evidence increasingly contradicts this assumption. Humans reached Australia at least 65,000 years ago, a journey requiring sea crossings even during ice ages when sea levels were lower. Similar evidence comes from the Mediterranean, where stone tools on islands suggest seafaring over 130,000 years ago. These findings contradict the traditional view of early humans as technologically limited. Either maritime capabilities evolved much earlier than previously thought, or we're missing crucial evidence of human cognitive development. Genetic studies add another layer of complexity. Analysis occasionally reveals ghost populations, genetic signatures of unknown hominin groups that interbred with our ancestors but left no identifiable fossil remains. One such ghost population appears in the genetic signature of modern Melanesians, distinct from both Neanderthal and Denisovan contributions. Who were these mysterious human relatives, and why haven't we found their fossils? The Denisovans themselves remain enigmatic. Known primarily from DNA extracted from a finger bone and a few teeth found in a Siberian cave, their physical appearance was largely unknown until recently. In 2019, researchers used DNA methylation patterns to reconstruct their likely appearance. The results suggest they had wider skulls than modern humans, with wider pelvises and longer eye slits, features not found in any known fossil. Perhaps most intriguing are human hybrids. A 90,000-year-old bone fragment from Denisova Cave came from a teenage girl whose mother was Neanderthal and father was Denisovan, direct evidence of interbreeding between distinct human lineages. This discovery forces us to reconsider the concept of human species. If these supposedly different species could produce fertile offspring, were they truly separate species by the biological definition? The boundary between mythology and science becomes particularly blurred when examining controversial evidence that doesn't fit established paradigms. Ancient structures like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey challenge conventional timelines for complex society. Built around 9600 BCE, predating agriculture and settled village life, Göbekli Tepe features massive stone pillars weighing up to 20 tons, carved with sophisticated animal reliefs. How did hunter-gatherers create such monumental architecture? Similar questions surround the Sphinx in Egypt. Geologist Robert Schoch has argued that weathering patterns on the monument indicate it was carved thousands of years earlier than the conventional dating of 2500 BCE. While most Egyptologists reject this interpretation, it exemplifies how physical evidence can be interpreted in dramatically different ways depending on one's foundational assumptions about human capabilities in different eras. The stoned ape theory, proposed by ethnobotanist Terence McKenna, suggests psychedelic mushrooms may have catalyzed human cognitive evolution by temporarily altering neural connections and enhancing visual processing capabilities. While speculative, this theory addresses the puzzle of rapid brain expansion and cognitive development. Mainstream science has largely dismissed it, yet recent research on psychedelics' neurological effects has renewed interest in similar hypotheses. These out-of-place findings and alternative theories don't necessarily overturn conventional models of human evolution, but they highlight the provisional nature of our understanding and the danger of becoming too attached to current paradigms. The tension between established narratives and anomalous evidence creates a fertile space for speculation. What if human cognitive development followed a more complex path than our current models suggest? What if cultural knowledge has been lost and rediscovered multiple times throughout human history? What if capabilities we consider modern existed in earlier periods but left minimal archaeological traces? As we navigate between scientific evidence, mythological narratives, and unexplained anomalies, one thing becomes clear. The story of human evolution contains chapters we're only beginning to decipher. Chapter 7. The Human Experiment. The stakes of understanding human evolution extend far beyond academic curiosity. As we unravel our evolutionary past, profound questions emerge about our nature, our future, and our place in the cosmos. Consider what we've discovered. 7 critical evolutionary transitions shaped humanity, each building upon previous adaptations in unexpected ways. Yet these transitions weren't smooth or linear. They were punctuated by unexplained leaps and puzzling delays. The conventional narrative portrays human evolution as the inevitable triumph of superior cognition. But the evidence reveals a more complex story, one of remarkable adaptability rather than predetermined dominance. Each evolutionary transition represented an experiment, a set of adaptations that could have failed but instead opened new possibilities. Our existence isn't the inevitable outcome of evolution, but the result of millions of years of evolutionary gambles. What makes this realization so profound is its implications for human identity. We aren't the pinnacle of a progressive evolutionary ladder. We're the last survivors of a diverse family of hominins, each with their own unique adaptations. This perspective transforms how we understand ourselves. Our evolutionary history isn't a story of manifest destiny, but of remarkable contingency. Small changes in environmental conditions might have led to radically different outcomes. The stakes escalate when we consider what our evolutionary history reveals about human nature. We evolved primarily in small, cooperative groups where reputation mattered and resources were shared. Yet we now live in massive, anonymous societies. This mismatch between our evolved psychology and modern environments underlies many contemporary challenges. Our brains evolved to respond to immediate, visible threats, not abstract, long-term dangers like climate change. Our evolutionary history shaped not just our bodies, but our minds, our fears, desires, biases, and capacities. Understanding these deep patterns offers insight into both our strengths and our vulnerabilities. Consider our remarkable capacity for cooperation. Humans collaborate on scales unprecedented in the animal kingdom. This ability emerged through evolutionary processes favoring those who could work together effectively. Yet alongside this cooperative tendency, we evolved strong in-group preferences and suspicion of outsiders. These tribal instincts, adaptive in our evolutionary past, now fuel conflicts in our globalized present. Our technological capabilities have outpaced our evolved psychology. We wield power that would have seemed godlike to our ancestors, yet we struggle to manage it wisely. This disjunction represents perhaps the greatest risk to our future. As we've traced human evolution through its 7 critical transitions, we've encountered a profound paradox. The same adaptations that enabled our extraordinary success also created unprecedented vulnerabilities. Our large brains enabled technological innovation but required dangerous childbirth and extended childhood dependency. Our cultural learning capacities allowed cumulative knowledge but also enabled the spread of destructive ideologies. Our cooperative tendencies facilitated complex societies but also made possible organized warfare on massive scales. Every evolutionary advantage came with corresponding costs, trade-offs embedded in our biology. What makes these insights so crucial is that we're now in the process of taking evolution into our own hands. Genetic technologies increasingly allow us to modify our biology in ways natural selection never could. For the first time in Earth's history, a species has developed the capability to deliberately direct its own evolution. This represents a transition potentially more significant than any of the 7 that created us. The stakes couldn't be higher. Without understanding the complex interplay of adaptations that shaped humanity, we risk unintended consequences as we begin modifying our evolutionary inheritance. Consider also what our evolutionary history reveals about cognitive diversity. Different human populations face distinct environmental challenges, developing varied adaptive strategies. This diversity represents a collective strength. Neurodiverse conditions, autism, ADHD, dyslexia, may reflect adaptations that were advantageous in certain ancestral contexts. From an evolutionary perspective, cognitive variation isn't necessarily pathological, but potentially adaptive. This insight transforms how we might view human differences. Rather than a single optimal cognitive profile, humanity benefits from diverse minds approaching problems from different perspectives, an evolutionary hedge against uncertainty. Our evolutionary journey also reveals something profound about human resilience. Multiple times throughout our history, our ancestors faced extinction-level threats, from climate catastrophes to population bottlenecks, yet somehow survived. Genetic evidence suggests modern humans descended from a population reduced to perhaps a few thousand individuals around 70,000 years ago. This close brush with extinction shaped our genetic legacy. Such close calls highlight both our vulnerability and our adaptability. We've repeatedly faced existential challenges and found ways to overcome them, often through technological and social innovations rather than biological adaptation. This pattern continues today as we face unprecedented global challenges. Climate change, biodiversity loss, nuclear proliferation, and emerging technologies present novel threats our evolved psychology isn't optimized to address. The stakes of understanding our evolutionary history escalate further when we consider extraterrestrial implications. If we're the product of 7 improbable evolutionary transitions, how likely are similar beings to evolve elsewhere? The famous Drake equation attempts to estimate the number of communicative civilizations in our galaxy. Our understanding of human evolution directly informs several variables in this equation. If the transitions that produced human-level intelligence are highly improbable, requiring specific, unlikely conditions, we may be vanishingly rare in the cosmos. Our existence might represent an extraordinary evolutionary experiment. Alternatively, if these transitions follow naturally from evolutionary principles, similar beings may have evolved frequently. Our galaxy might contain numerous intelligent species asking the same questions about their origins. Either possibility carries profound implications for humanity's cosmic significance and future potential. Are we an evolutionary fluke or the manifestation of a common developmental pathway? As we've examined the fossil evidence, genetic data, and archaeological record, we've encountered a humbling truth. Despite remarkable scientific progress, fundamental questions about human origins remain unanswered. Why did brain size increase so dramatically? What sparked the cognitive revolution that led to behavioral modernity? Why did Neanderthals disappear while we flourished? The evidence remains tantalizingly incomplete. This incompleteness itself matters. It reminds us that scientific understanding is provisional, constantly revised as new evidence emerges. The The story of human evolution continues to be rewritten with each new discovery. Perhaps the most profound implication of our evolutionary journey is that it isn't over. We continue to evolve, albeit now primarily through cultural rather than biological mechanisms. And increasingly, we guide this process ourselves. The 7 evolutionary transitions that created humanity established the foundation for an 8th transition now underway, one characterized by unprecedented self-modification through technology, from genetic engineering to artificial intelligence. This 8th transition differs fundamentally from those that preceded it. Earlier thresholds emerged through natural selection, a blind process operating over vast timescales. Our current transformation is increasingly deliberate and rapidly accelerating. The stakes of this transition dwarf all others. We're reimagining what it means to be human on timescales measured in decades rather than millennia. Yet we undertake this transformation with incomplete understanding of how we came to be. Consider the latest evolutionary experiment, artificial intelligence. We're creating entities with capabilities that mirror and potentially exceed certain human cognitive functions. This represents something entirely new in Earth's history. As AI systems evolve, they recapitulate aspects of our own development, learning first to recognize patterns, then to communicate, and potentially to develop forms of consciousness or self-awareness previously unique to biological beings. This parallels our own evolutionary journey from simple pattern recognition to complex symbolic thought. We're creating an accelerated, artificial version of the cognitive evolution that took our ancestors millions of years. The relationship between human and machine intelligence raises profound questions about what constitutes consciousness, intelligence, and personhood, questions directly informed by our understanding of how human cognition evolved. As we stand at this unprecedented juncture, our evolutionary history offers crucial perspective. We've always been works in progress, being shaped by environmental pressures, chance events, and the accumulated weight of prior adaptations. The 7 transitions that created us weren't planned or directed. They emerged from the complex interplay of genetic variation, environmental change, and the cascading effects of previous adaptations. Yet they produced beings capable of contemplating their own origins. Now we face an 8th transition unlike any before, one we ourselves initiate. Without understanding the complex evolutionary processes that shaped us, we navigate this transformation partially blind. Here lies perhaps the greatest stakes of all. Can beings evolved for Stone Age environments wisely direct their own further evolution? Can we overcome the limitations of minds shaped by natural selection to create a sustainable future? Our evolutionary journey has brought us to a precipice. We wield godlike technological powers with Stone Age emotional responses. This mismatch creates unprecedented existential risks alongside extraordinary possibilities. The fossil record reveals something humbling. Most hominin species eventually went extinct. Our current dominance doesn't guarantee our future survival. Like our evolutionary cousins, we could represent a temporary experiment. Yet unlike earlier hominins, we possess something unprecedented, awareness of our own evolutionary journey. We can study the processes that created us and potentially use this knowledge to chart a different course. This awareness creates both responsibility and opportunity. We're the first species to understand its own origins and the first with the capacity to deliberately shape its future evolution. The 7th stage of human evolution, the emergence of behaviorally modern Homo sapiens, didn't complete our journey. It simply set the stage for the most momentous transition of all, conscious evolution. As we stand at this evolutionary crossroads, looking back at the 7 transitions that created us, the central question becomes clear. Can we use our understanding of the past to navigate wisely into an uncertain future? Or will the cognitive biases and limitations shaped by our evolutionary history prevent us from making decisions necessary for long-term survival? The answer will determine not just our fate, but potentially the fate of consciousness in our corner of the universe. The evolutionary experiment continues. We are not its culmination, but merely its latest, most self-aware iteration. What happens next depends on how well we understand the processes that created us. Chapter 8. Unlocking Human Origins. As we contemplate the 7 transitions that shaped humanity, several competing theories emerged to explain the distinctive path of human evolution. These frameworks offer different perspectives on the central mystery: what made us human? The first major theoretical framework centers on ecological adaptation. The savanna hypothesis proposes that the shift from forest to grassland environments in Africa triggered the cascade of adaptations leading to modern humans. According to this theory, as forests fragmented, our ancestors faced new selection pressures. Bipedalism offered advantages in open environments, allowing efficient travel between scattered resources and better heat management in exposed settings. This ecological shift hypothesis connects subsequent adaptations in a causal chain. Bipedalism freed hands for tools, tool use selected for manual dexterity, and complex manipulation co-evolved with expanded cognitive capabilities. The savanna model gained support from paleoanthropologist Yves Coppens, who noted that fossils found east of Africa's Great Rift Valley, a more open environment, showed more human-like adaptations than those from forested western regions. However, recent discoveries have complicated this narrative. Early bipedal adaptations appear in fossils from still forested environments, suggesting upright walking evolved before our ancestors fully committed to savanna living. The variability selection hypothesis, proposed by paleoanthropologist Rick Potts, offers an alternative ecological explanation. Rather than adaptation to any specific environment, Potts suggests human evolution was driven by adaptation to change itself. According to this theory, the critical factor was climate instability during the Pleistocene. Rapid environmental fluctuations favored adaptable generalists over specialists, selecting for behavioral flexibility, innovation, and social learning. Evidence for this comes from geological records showing dramatic climate oscillations coinciding with human evolution. Lake core samples and ice cores reveal alternating wet and dry periods that would have repeatedly transformed African landscapes. The second major theoretical framework focuses on social factors rather than ecological ones. The social brain hypothesis, championed by anthropologist Robin Dunbar, suggests our large brains evolved primarily for navigating complex social environments. This theory proposes that living in increasingly complex social groups created selection pressure for greater cognitive abilities. Individuals who could track relationships, understand others' intentions, and navigate social hierarchies had reproductive advantages. Dunbar found a consistent relationship between primate brain size and social group size, suggesting cognitive evolution was primarily driven by social complexity rather than ecological challenges. Supporting this view, humans demonstrate extraordinary theory of mind capabilities, understanding others' thoughts, beliefs, and intentions. This social cognition appears more developed in humans than any other species. The social brain hypothesis helps explain distinctive human traits like language, cooperation with non-kin, and cultural learning, all adaptations that enhance social coordination and knowledge transmission between individuals. A third explanatory framework emphasizes sexual selection. Geoffrey Miller's mating mind hypothesis proposes that many uniquely human traits evolved not because they enhanced survival, but because they attracted mates. According to this theory, traits like art, music, humor, and moral reasoning may have evolved as fitness indicators, demonstrations of genetic quality and cognitive abilities that potential mates found attractive. Sexual selection can drive rapid evolutionary change and explain seemingly non-utilitarian traits. The elaborate displays we see in peacocks' tails demonstrate how sexual preference can produce extraordinary adaptations. Evidence for this perspective comes from the timing of human creative expression. Cave art, figurines, jewelry, and musical instruments appear most abundantly after anatomically modern humans evolved, suggesting these capabilities might serve social signaling functions. A fourth framework, the cooking hypothesis, championed by anthropologist Richard Wrangham, focuses on the transformative effects of fire. Cooking predigests food, increasing caloric availability and reducing the energy required for digestion. This dietary revolution would have allowed smaller guts and larger brains, two distinctive human traits. The theory is supported by evidence that humans are physiologically adapted to cooked food, with smaller teeth and digestive systems than other primates. Archaeological evidence places controlled fire use by at least 400,000 years ago, with possible earlier examples. This timing aligns with significant brain size increases in the human lineage. Each of these frameworks, ecological adaptation, social complexity, sexual selection, and dietary revolution, captures important aspects of human evolution. Yet each also faces significant challenges when considered in isolation. The mosaic evolution model suggests these processes operated simultaneously, interacting in complex ways. Different human traits evolved at different rates in response to different selection pressures, creating our unique adaptive package. This perspective helps explain why human evolution doesn't follow a simple linear progression. Some features, like bipedalism, evolved early, while others, like symbolic expression, appeared much later. Evolution worked on different aspects of humanity at different times. Evidence for mosaic evolution appears throughout the fossil record. Homonality, for instance, combined primitive brain size with apparently advanced behaviors, while early Homo sapiens had modern anatomy but initially lacked behavioral modernity. Recent genetic research offers yet another perspective through the regulatory change hypothesis. This proposes that the critical evolutionary changes involved not new genes, but changes in how existing genes were regulated. Humans share approximately 99% of our DNA with chimpanzees, suggesting the key differences lie not in genes themselves, but in when, where, and how strongly they're expressed during development. Studies of regulatory regions in human and chimpanzee DNA reveal numerous differences in gene expression patterns, particularly in brain development. Small regulatory changes can produce dramatic morphological and cognitive effects. This helps explain how relatively rapid evolutionary changes created such significant differences between humans and other apes. Regulatory mutations can affect multiple traits simultaneously, accelerating evolutionary change. Another compelling framework, the extended evolutionary synthesis, suggests traditional natural selection models are insufficient to explain human evolution. This approach incorporates additional mechanisms, including niche construction and cultural inheritance. Niche construction, the process by which organisms modify their environment, creates new selection pressures. Humans excel at this, creating cultural and technological environments that then drive further biological adaptations. Cultural evolution operates alongside genetic evolution, sometimes at much faster rates. Once symbolic language emerged, information could be shared and accumulated across generations without genetic changes. This gene-culture coevolution created feedback loops where cultural innovations changed selection pressures, driving biological adaptations that enabled further cultural complexity. Consider cooking. Controlling fire changed human diet, selecting for smaller teeth and digestive systems. These biological changes freed energy for brain growth, enabling more complex culture, which further altered selective pressures. Evidence for gene-culture coevolution appears in human genetic adaptations to culturally created environments. Lactase persistence, the ability to digest milk in adulthood, emerged only after cattle domestication created a selective advantage for this trait. Similar adaptations appear in populations with long histories of starch consumption, alcohol production, or high-altitude living. Our biology continues responding to culturally constructed environments. The theory of punctuated equilibrium, proposed by paleontologists Stephen Jay Gould and Niles Eldredge, offers insight into the timing of human evolution. This model suggests evolutionary change often occurs in rapid bursts followed by long periods of stability. This framework helps explain the apparent leaps in the fossil record, periods of relatively rapid change followed by longer periods with minimal alteration. These patterns challenge the assumption of gradual, continuous change. As we evaluate these competing frameworks, a more comprehensive theory emerges. Human evolution likely resulted from the complex interaction of multiple factors: ecological, social, sexual, dietary, genetic, and cultural. What makes us distinctively human isn't any single adaptation, but the unique constellation of traits that emerged through these interacting processes. Our evolutionary story is one of remarkable synergy between different adaptive systems. The 7 transitions we've identified represent critical thresholds where these interacting forces produced qualitative changes in what it meant to be human. Each built upon previous adaptations while opening new evolutionary possibilities. This integrative perspective helps resolve contradictions in the fossil record and explains why human evolution doesn't follow a simple linear progression. Different aspects of humanity evolved at different rates in response to different selection pressures. As we've traced these competing explanations, a deeper understanding emerges. The story of human evolution isn't about any single driving force, but about how multiple selective pressures interacted to create something unprecedented in Earth's history. Chapter 9. The Edge of Knowledge. Recent scientific discoveries continue transforming our understanding of human evolution, often revealing greater complexity than previously imagined. New techniques in genomics, dating methods, and archaeological analysis are rewriting our evolutionary story. Perhaps the most revolutionary advances come from ancient DNA analysis. Until recently, understanding extinct human species relied primarily on morphological analysis of fossils. Now we can extract and sequence genetic material from remains thousands of years old. This genetic revolution revealed something extraordinary. Modern humans outside Africa carry DNA from Neanderthals, typically 1 to 4% of their genome. This conclusively demonstrated interbreeding between our species and our closest evolutionary relatives. Even more surprisingly, genomic studies identified another extinct human lineage, the Denisovans, known primarily through DNA rather than fossils. Certain modern populations, particularly in Oceania, carry up to 6% Denisovan DNA. Further analysis revealed evidence of other, as yet unidentified archaic human populations that interbred with our ancestors. Our genomes contain genetic ghosts, traces of extinct human species known only through their genetic legacy. These discoveries fundamentally challenge the traditional concept of species as discrete, non-interbreeding populations. Human evolution increasingly appears as a complex web of interconnected lineages rather than a simple tree. More remarkably, genetic analysis reveals specific archaic genes that provided adaptive advantages to modern humans. Some Tibetan populations carry a Denisovan gene variant that helps them survive at high altitudes. Similarly, some immune system genes in modern humans appear to have come from Neanderthals, potentially helping our ancestors adapt to pathogens encountered as they migrated into new environments. This evidence suggests our species' success may partly result from genetic admixture. We didn't simply replace other human species. We incorporated beneficial aspects of their genetic heritage as we expanded globally. New dating techniques have also revolutionized our timeline of human evolution. Improved methods now provide more precise dates for fossils and archaeological sites, often challenging previous assumptions. Recent redating of key fossils from Jebel Irhoud in Morocco pushed back the emergence of Homo sapiens to at least 300,000 years ago, 100,000 years earlier than previously thought, and suggested a Pan-African origin rather than a single location. Similarly, improved dating methods revealed Neanderthals created cave art in Spain at least 65,000 years ago, 20,000 years before modern humans reached Europe. This contradicts long-held beliefs about Neanderthal cognitive capabilities. Archaeological discoveries continue challenging conventional narratives. Stone tools discovered at Lomekwi, Kenya, date to 3.3 million years ago, 700,000 years earlier than previously documented and predating the genus Homo entirely. Advanced imaging technologies reveal details previously invisible to researchers. Micro-CT scanning of fossils allows examination of internal structures like tooth enamel and brain case impressions without damaging specimens. These techniques have revealed that Homo naledi, despite its small brain, had a hand capable of precise manipulation and a foot adapted for long-distance walking. Such mosaic features challenge linear models of human evolution. Brain endocasts, models of the interior of fossil skulls, suggest Neanderthals had different brain structures than modern humans, not just different sizes. Their visual systems were larger, while regions associated with social cognition differed in organization. These findings create a paradox. If different human species had differently organized brains, they may have experienced consciousness differently. What was it like to be a Neanderthal, with perception and cognition organized unlike our own? Another paradox emerges from the timing of modern human capabilities. Anatomically, modern humans existed at least 300,000 years ago, but archaeological evidence for fully modern behavior, art, symbolism, complex technology appears much later. This gap between anatomical and behavioral modernity creates a puzzle. What triggered the cultural explosion evident in the archaeological record around 50,000 to 40,000 years ago, long after modern human anatomy evolved? Some researchers propose genetic mutations affecting cognitive capabilities or language. Others suggest demographic factors. Only when population density reached certain thresholds did cultural accumulation accelerate dramatically. The cultural ratchet hypothesis suggests innovations become more likely and more permanent as population size increases. Larger, more connected populations preserve and build upon innovations that might be lost in smaller groups. Climate change offers another potential explanation. Evidence suggests periods of environmental stress coincided with bursts of innovation, as humans developed new adaptations to changing conditions. New research into human developmental biology reveals another paradox. Modern humans exhibit neoteny, retention of juvenile features into adulthood, compared to other primates. We develop more slowly and retain childlike characteristics longer. This extended development period allows for prolonged learning, but requires extensive parental investment. It represents an evolutionary gamble, betting on quality of offspring over quantity, with significant costs to reproductive efficiency. Our extended childhood creates another distinctive human adaptation: grandparenting. Human females live long past reproductive age, unlike most mammals. This post-reproductive lifespan likely evolved because grandmothers improved grandchildren's survival chances. The grandmother hypothesis suggests knowledge transfer between generations provided critical adaptive advantages. Older individuals with accumulated wisdom could share survival skills, increasing community resilience. Advanced statistical modeling of human origins presents yet another paradox. Population genetics suggests modern humans descended from a relatively small population, perhaps fewer than 10,000 breeding individuals at certain points. This population bottleneck indicates our species faced near-extinction events. Genetic diversity within modern humans is surprisingly limited compared to many other species, suggesting we passed through such genetic bottlenecks multiple times. One leading hypothesis connects a major bottleneck to the massive Toba supervolcano eruption approximately 74,000 years ago. This catastrophic event may have reduced human populations to precariously small numbers. If true, this suggests our species' dominance resulted not from inevitable evolutionary superiority, but from surviving catastrophic events through adaptability and possibly sheer luck. Neuroscientific research creates another paradox. Our brains consume 20% of our body's energy, while comprising only 2% of our weight. This metabolic cost seems excessive unless cognitive abilities provided extraordinary adaptive advantages. What environmental or social pressures justified such energy expenditure? The evolutionary benefits must have outweighed the substantial metabolic costs, suggesting cognitive adaptations were crucial to survival. Climate research reveals another critical factor in human evolution. Studies of ancient climate patterns show Africa experienced dramatic fluctuations between wet and dry periods, creating a dynamic, ever-changing environment. These fluctuations may have driven human adaptability by repeatedly changing selection pressures. Populations that could adjust to varying conditions through behavioral flexibility and cultural innovation would have held significant advantages. The variability selection hypothesis suggests human intelligence evolved not for solving any specific environmental problem, but for adapting to constant change itself. Our defining characteristic became adaptability rather than specialization. Archaeological evidence increasingly suggests technology developed in mosaic patterns rather than through clear progressive stages. Advanced techniques sometimes appear, disappear, and reappear in the archaeological record. This pattern challenges linear models of cultural evolution and suggests technological development wasn't a steady progression. Innovations could be lost during population contractions or environmental shifts, then reinvented later. Paleogenomics, the study of ancient genomes, reveals another surprising pattern. Certain genes associated with brain development show evidence of strong positive selection during the past 50,000 years. This suggests human cognitive evolution continues. We are still adapting and changing. Recent evolutionary changes affect genes involved in neurotransmitter regulation, synaptic function, and brain development. Our evolutionary journey remains incomplete. The 7 transitions we've identified didn't produce a finished product, but rather a work in progress, a species still evolving both biologically and culturally. Perhaps the most profound paradox emerging from recent research is the realization that cultural evolution now operates far more rapidly than biological evolution. Our primary adaptive mechanism has shifted from genetics to culture. Through technological and social innovation, humans transform environments and create new selection pressures faster than genetic adaptation can respond. This creates evolutionary mismatches. Our biology evolved for environments that no longer exist. These mismatches manifest in contemporary health challenges. Our metabolism evolved for environments where calories were scarce and physical activity constant, conditions dramatically different from those in industrialized societies. Similarly, our social cognition evolved for small group living with stable relationships. Modern mass society creates social environments unlike anything experienced during most of human evolution. As we synthesize these emerging scientific insights, a more nuanced understanding of human evolution emerges, one characterized by complexity, contingency, and ongoing change rather than predetermined progression toward an evolutionary endpoint. Chapter 10. The 7 transitions reconsidered. We began this exploration with a central question: what made us human? After examining fossil evidence, genetic data, archaeological discoveries, and competing theories, we can now reconsider the 7 evolutionary transitions that shaped humanity. The first transition, bipedalism, appears more complex than traditionally portrayed. Rather than a sudden shift from trees to ground, the evidence reveals a gradual, mosaic adaptation that began while our ancestors still used arboreal environments. Bipedalism didn't emerge as an all-or-nothing trait, but through incremental anatomical changes creating increasingly efficient upright locomotion. Different hominin species represented varying solutions to the challenges of moving through diverse environments. The revolutionary insight isn't just that we stood up, but that this apparently simple postural change triggered cascading effects throughout human evolution. By freeing the hands, bipedalism created possibilities for tool use and manipulation. This first transition exemplifies an evolutionary pattern we've observed repeatedly. Adaptations evolving for one purpose created opportunities for entirely different capabilities. Evolution works with available materials, repurposing existing structures for new functions. The second transition, Australopithecine diversification, reveals another crucial insight. Rather than a single lineage progressing toward humanity, multiple species explored different adaptive strategies simultaneously. Some developed massive jaws for processing tough vegetation. Others maintained more generalized diets. These diverse experiments demonstrate that evolution doesn't follow a predetermined path, but explores multiple possibilities simultaneously. Lucy and her relatives show us that successful adaptation doesn't require perfection. Australopithecines weren't perfectly adapted for either trees or ground, but maintained flexible capabilities allowing them to exploit both environments. The third transition, emergence of Homo and systematic tool use, highlights the crucial relationship between technology and biology. Stone tools effectively served as external teeth and claws, allowing early Homo to access resources unavailable to other primates. This relationship between biology and technology created a feedback loop. Better tools provided nutritional resources supporting larger brains, while larger brains conceived more sophisticated tools. Each advance amplified the other. What makes this transition so significant isn't just brain enlargement, but the cognitive reorganization accompanying it. The archaeological record shows increasing planning depth, spatial cognition, and manual precision. The fossil evidence suggests this transition wasn't a breakthrough moment, but a gradual process. Multiple Homo species with different brain sizes and tool capabilities coexisted, each representing different balances of biological and technological adaptation. Our fourth transition, the emergence and expansion of Homo erectus, reveals something profound about human adaptation. This species succeeded not through specialization, but through unprecedented adaptability. Homo erectus thrived across vastly different environments, from African savannas to Asian jungles to temperate Eurasian plains. Their success came not from being perfectly adapted to any specific environment, but from being adequately adapted to many. Their anatomical adaptations for efficient long-distance travel, the first truly modern body proportions in our lineage, facilitated geographic expansion. Their apparent mastery of fire transformed their relationship with the environment and their diet. This fourth transition demonstrates that technological adaptation can operate more quickly than biological evolution. Cultural innovations like fire use and advanced hunting techniques allowed rapid adjustment to new environments without genetic changes. The fifth transition, the emergence of archaic humans with essentially modern-sized brains, reveals the limitations of focusing exclusively on brain size. Despite comparable neural volume, these species produced different cultural and technological patterns than modern humans. This suggests that neural organization, not just size, drives cognitive capabilities. Subtle changes in brain connectivity and structure can produce significant differences in cognitive function even when overall brain size remains similar. The archaeological record associated with these archaic humans shows increasing technological sophistication and possible symbolic behaviors. The foundations for modern human cognitive capabilities were developing gradually through these populations. Our sixth transition, the appearance of Neanderthals and their contemporaries, forces a profound reconsideration of human uniqueness. These species created art, used symbols, buried their dead, and developed sophisticated technologies. The evidence increasingly suggests Neanderthals possessed language, abstract thinking, and aesthetic sensibilities. The cognitive gap between them and modern humans appears significantly narrower than traditionally portrayed. This raises a compelling question. If Neanderthals possessed comparable cognitive capabilities, why did they disappear while Homo sapiens flourished? The answer appears more complex than simply superior human intelligence. Demographic factors, slightly different social structures, or even chance events during population bottlenecks may have influenced these different outcomes more than cognitive differences. Success or extinction may have hinged on contingent historical circumstances. Our seventh transition, the emergence of behaviorally modern Homo sapiens, remains the most enigmatic. Anatomically modern humans existed long before the archaeological evidence for fully modern behavioral capabilities. The creative explosion, evident in the archaeological record around 50,000 to 40,000 years ago, doesn't coincide with anatomical changes. Something beyond physical evolution triggered this cultural acceleration. Recent research suggests this transition may have resulted from demographic factors rather than biological changes. As population density and connectivity increased, cultural innovations could accumulate more rapidly and spread more widely. This perspective transforms our understanding of the seventh transition. Rather than a genetic mutation or neural reorganization, the final threshold to modern humanity may have been crossing a social tipping point that accelerated cultural evolution. Synthesizing these insights reveals the true nature of human evolution. Each transition built upon previous adaptations in ways that couldn't have been predicted beforehand. Each created new possibilities that subsequent evolution exploited. Human evolution wasn't a directed process aiming toward our current form, but a series of adaptations to immediate environmental and social challenges. That these adaptations ultimately produced a species capable of contemplating its own origins was neither planned nor inevitable. The central revelation emerging from our exploration is that humanity wasn't created by any single adaptation, but through the unique interaction of multiple evolutionary processes: genetic, ecological, social, cultural, and technological. We are the product of biological evolution, but we're also the product of cultural evolution, a process that operates according to different rules and at different speeds than genetic change. The interplay between these systems defines humanity. What makes humans truly unique isn't any single trait, but our extraordinary integration of multiple adaptive systems. We learn individually, we learn socially, we create technologies, we modify our environments, and we continue biological adaptation simultaneously. This integration created unprecedented evolutionary potential. While biological evolution operates over generations, cultural evolution can occur within lifetimes. Ideas, technologies, and social systems can be rapidly modified, tested, and improved. The 7 transitions we've explored weren't simple steps on a predetermined path. They were evolutionary experiments, each building upon what came before in unpredictable ways, creating new possibilities that subsequent evolution exploited. Our evolutionary journey wasn't a steady march of progress, but a complex, branching process shaped by chance events, environmental change, and the emerging capabilities of our ancestors. We are the inheritors of millions of years of evolutionary improvisation. Understanding these 7 transitions transforms our perception of humanity. We aren't separate from nature, but embedded within it. We aren't the inevitable outcome of evolution, but one remarkable possibility among many. This perspective doesn't diminish humanity, but contextualizes our place in life's broader story. We represent one extraordinary evolutionary experiment, a lineage that developed unprecedented capabilities for reshaping environments and transmitting knowledge across generations. The story of human evolution reveals something profound. We're neither simply animals nor beings apart from nature. We exist in the unique intermediate space we've created through the integration of biological and cultural evolution. As we face unprecedented global challenges, our evolutionary history offers essential insights. We evolved for adaptability rather than specialization. Our success came not from being perfectly adapted to any single environment, but from our capacity to adjust to change. This adaptability, the defining feature of humanity across all 7 evolutionary transitions, may prove our greatest asset as we navigate an uncertain future. We carry the legacy of ancestors who repeatedly faced environmental shifts and found ways to survive. The 7 transitions that shaped humanity aren't merely historical events. They're written in our bodies, brains, behaviors, and societies. Understanding them helps us understand ourselves, our capabilities, limitations, tendencies, and extraordinary potential. As we conclude our journey through the 7 evolutionary transitions that shaped humanity, we stand at the threshold of an 8th transition, one we ourselves are initiating. For the first time in Earth's history, a species is taking deliberate control of its own evolution. Through genetic technologies, artificial intelligence, and unprecedented environmental modification, we're creating selection pressures and adaptive possibilities unlike anything in our evolutionary past. This 8th transition differs fundamentally from those that preceded it. The previous 7 emerged through the blind process of natural selection operating over vast timescales. Our current transformation involves conscious choice and accelerating change. The genetic and cultural legacy of our evolutionary journey provides the foundation for this new transition. The adaptability, technological capability, and social cooperation that evolved through the previous 7 transitions now enable us to reshape ourselves. Will we use our unprecedented power wisely? Can minds evolved for Stone Age environments make sound decisions about technologies with planetary consequences? Our evolutionary history offers both warnings and reasons for hope. Throughout our evolutionary journey, humans have demonstrated extraordinary adaptability. We've survived population bottlenecks, climate shifts, and changing selection pressures. This adaptability remains our greatest strength as we face an uncertain future. The story of human evolution contains a profound paradox. We are simultaneously special and ordinary. Special in our unprecedented capabilities, yet ordinary in having evolved through the same natural processes as all life on Earth. This perspective offers essential humility as we contemplate our future. We aren't the end point of evolution, but one remarkable branch on life's tree, a work in progress rather than a finished product. If you found this exploration of human origins enlightening, subscribe to our channel for more journeys through the mysteries of our past and the possibilities of our future. The greatest story ever told is still being written, and we are both its authors and its subjects.